You know, now that I can actually, like, upload YouTube videos longer than 15 minutes, for the first time in almost 2 fucking years, yeah, I'm gonna take my sweet-ass time with this video. So, yeah. Oh, hey, I did say I was gonna take my sweet-ass time. Anyways, let's, get on with the video. Oh, shit, something almost fell. Anyways, here's my Roy amiibo. You know, I was pretty much jumping for joy when I saw this. I was down at an EB Games, because I'm fairly certain that Roy, I'm not just saying this just because I saw it at an EB Games, but I'm pretty sure Roy is, you know, GameStop/EB Games exclusive. So, you know, yeah. And obviously, you know, amiibos are a complete pain in the ass to get, low supply, scalping, yada yada yada. I don't know if that's still a big deal now, like it was in, like, early 2015, but it's like, you know, I'm still not gonna find, you know, Roy. In fact, hell, even on eBay, I remember seeing a lot of, like, the European and Japanese Roy amiibos, you know, so, yeah. But of course, you know, this is amazing to have, because, you know, hey, I like Roy as a character and as a fighter. I think he's really cool, you know, even though I never played a Fire Emblem game, you know, it's still really nice to have, you know, because, hey, I like Roy a lot. He's cool, you know. He's better than, you know, Roy, the Koopaling. Besides, Ludwig is better than Roy, if you'd ask me, if we're talking about Koopalings, but we're not. You know, and honestly, I think this is probably the first, like, official piece of Roy merchandise sold in North America, because I imagine if you wanted, like, a Roy plush or any other Roy figure, you'd probably have to, you know, import it or go down to, like, Akihabara or something and find one. I don't know. I'm just rambling. But still, real cool to have. Got some NES stuff, you know. We have Yoshi. Yoshi. Oh, fuck that. Yoshi. You know, I think I can do a pretty decent Yoshi impression, but, now, as some of you may know, this is, well, it's a puzzle game, you know? Kind of like, Yoshi's Cookie. Look at that. Now that's just beautiful. For, like, almost 3 years, I had, the Game Boy version of this. But, you know, I wanted the NES version because you can do 2-player. I mean, you can do 2-player in the Game Boy version, but, you know, wanted it on the NES because it's much easier to do 2-player on this. And, well, you know, like, this game kind of gets kind of mixed reviews. You know, some people are just kind of about it. Some people probably don't like it, find it boring. I like this game, actually. I really do think it's actually a pretty, you know, enjoyable kind of game. And, you know, you could do much worse. There's definitely far worse, like, score attack kind of, you know, games like this. Especially on, like, you know, the Atari 2600. I mean, I love the 2600, don't get me wrong, but there are just some games that are just kind of unacceptable for that system. You know, even for their time. But, anyways, yeah, Yoshi is a pretty good puzzle game. The one thing I don't really get about the game is, why is it just called Yoshi? In Europe, it was called Mario and Yoshi, and in Japan, I believe it was called Yoshi's Egg, or just Yoshi Egg, or, well, actually probably Yossi Egg, because, Yoshi's called Yossi in Japan. But, you know, hey, it's a puzzle game, a good one, you know. Hopefully I can do 2-player with it sometime, because, that would be actually pretty fun. Strider. Now, this is an interesting kind of game. If you're familiar with the Strider series at all, it's kind of like that, you know, platforming game where you play as good old Strider Hiryu and, you know, you're slashing shit. And, me recently getting Strider 2 for the PlayStation 1, one of the rarest games on the system for free, kind of motivated me to get some more Strider games. And truth be told, there's not that many. There's actually probably more ports of, you know, the original Strider than there are new Strider games, because, you know, basically there's, you know, there's like many different versions. There's the arcade game, many different versions of the arcade game, like a Genesis port and the PC Engine port. There's like Strider Returns, which was on the Genesis the Game Gear and the Master System, and probably like a bunch of computers and whatnot. Then there's, you know, Strider for the NES. There's Strider 2 for the PlayStation, and then there's like Strider on the PlayStation 3. It's just called Strider, I believe. Came out recently too. So, you know, yeah, not much to get. Even though I hear nothing but bad things about Strider Returns, but I'll have to get that anyways, because why the hell not? I'm curious. But this is an interesting kind of game. It's honestly probably the biggest and most ambitious Strider game there is, because it's not a, you know, basic point A to point B platformer. It kind of reminds me of like a Metroidvania styled game. You're going around in certain areas collecting items to advance the plot and whatnot. Like, for example, you might go to Japan to talk to, you know, a certain guy who will tell you to, I don't know, go to like, you know, Africa or China or whatever to get a certain item there, and then you'll end up going, you know, down to Los Angeles or whatever. I believe this is actually like this game is supposed to be a little more based off the Strider manga, the Strider manga series, which that's kind of how Strider Hiryu originally started off, you know, and Capcom made a game off of the thing, the manga, whatever. So yeah, it's essentially an action-adventure kind of game, or whatever genre it really is, but, you know, it's different. I did beat it because it did hold my interest enough to, you know, beat it, because, you know, to be honest, it's not that hard of a game. It's actually a pretty fair, you know, challenging game. But there are some, like, kind of problems with it. Not too much so in the gameplay, but kind of programming issues. For one, the jump is kind of inconsistent. It almost feels like an Action 52 jump, and that's not good at all. That's never a good sign. But, you know, it's still, like, you know, it's still something else. What am I saying? I need to get back on topic. There's also the wall jump, which the wall jump, I recall, you have to do probably like twice or 3 times. Probably only twice in the whole game, actually. But that wall jump, man, that is such a poorly programmed wall jump. You know, you're supposed to, you know, do the simple thing. Move left and right while pressing A to, you know, jump off the walls. But that, you know, just playing it, you can tell that shit was not clearly programmed into the game. So, yeah, it's kind of an unpolished, programmed game in some areas, but it actually doesn't hinder as much as you think. Now, normally I'd be like, oh, what, your game's unfinished, glitchy, and buggy? Get it the fuck out of here. But this, I don't see it as bad. If this was, you know, a little more platform-oriented, and it still is, you know, because a lot of the main stages involve you going through some platforming action on your journey to collect an item or speak to somebody. But yeah, so it's a good game, just kind of an unpolished one in terms of, you know, programming, but not fatally flawed, I guess, the best way I can put it. Here we have Super Bowling for the Super Nintendo. Yes, another Super Nintendo game. That's awesome. Because, you know, I need more of them. Now, Super Bowling is an interesting kind of game. For one, it's one of 2 bowling games for the system. This was released early in the system's lifespan, 1992. The second bowling game for the system was Brunswick World Tournament of Champions. And that was released late. That came out in 1997. So it's like, there's that huge gap between, you know, the 2 bowling games on the, you know, the Super NES. But Super Bowling, it's great, actually. I'm gonna be honest, this is the best fucking bowling game I've ever played. You know, at least so far, of course. But it's just fun, you know, great pin physics, you know, some really nice energy controls, just, this is fucking fun, man. This is such a damn good game, you know. I don't know how, I'm praising it a lot, yeah, but it really is just actually like a really competent bowling game. One other interesting little tidbit is that there is another game called Super Bowling on the N64, but it's actually, you know, a pretty different kind of game, and let me tell you, Super Bowling on the Nintendo 64 it looks really nice. Like, I will say that some of the best graphics I've ever seen on the system, if not probably the best 3D graphics I've seen on the system, and I'm not kidding, actually look it up, it looks great. But, you know, that game is actually rare, it's like $100, so I don't know if I'll be able to get my hands on that, but hey, Super Bowling on the Super Nintendo is actually really fun. Pick it up. It's good. Here we have Jeremy McGrath, Supercross 2000 on the N64. If it'll load, or not load up, if the camera will focus. There we go. Now, this, I originally had, well, actually I still have, but I had the Game Boy Color version of Jeremy McGrath, Supercross 2000, and I actually liked it, and I was like, well, let's see what the Nintendo 64 version is all about. For one, I do like that it comes in a red cartridge. That's actually pretty nice. So yeah, you know, I picked it up. Unfortunately, I probably will have to get another copy because the label is a little fucked. So yeah, I might need a label upgrade, you know? But yeah, it's a, you know, motocross, motorcycle, dirt bike, whatever, racing game. And to be honest, it's kind of like, the controls, I don't think they're bad, but, you know, they don't feel like, you know, I'm in control of a motorbike. They just don't feel very polished necessarily, I guess that's the best way I can put it. And another thing, it's easy. It is fucking easy. Like, once you know, get in front, the other racers it doesn't look like they'll ever catch up, you know? At all, ever. Like, if you look at the map, little map screen while you're racing, those bastards are not going to catch up. They're not. Unless you know, of course, stop in your tracks for like a minute or whatever. So this is a really easy game. I don't know, it just feels kind of like honestly. I mean, to be fair, at least the multiplayer is mildly enjoyable. You know, I think that's actually a pretty decent multiplayer game. But it's like, if you want a bike racing game on the N64, you know, of course I'd recommend Excite Bike 64, but there's also actually a game just called Supercross 2000 for the N64, which even that looks better than this. But, you know, hey, at least I finally got to try it out, and it's in a red cart. So, you know, that's nice to finally have a red N64 game. Here we have Shinobi 2: The Silent Fury for the Game Gear. You know, I have Shinobi, the first one, at least on the Game Gear, which I believe is also known as, or probably really known as, the GG Shinobi. In fact, on the title screen it says, of this game, it says, the GG Shinobi 2: The Silent Fury, so it's like, what the fuck's the name of this game? But, yeah, well, it's, you know, it's a Shinobi game, and, of course, since I had played the first one, that is on the 3DS Virtual Console, but now that I own a Game Gear, I'm going to get an original copy. But, you know, this kind of took priority because I'm like, hey, let's find out, you know, what this game's all about. And, you know, it's good. It is really good, I will say, but, you know, I don't feel the game is as remarkable or as great as, you know, a lot of other Shinobi games. Like, part of me liked the first one a little more from what you know, just from memory and whatnot. Not saying this is bad. This is actually really good, you know. It's some pretty, you know, nice little Shinobi action, but, you know, it's just not great. Like, it's not great, but not in the way you'd think. You know, it's still, like, a really enjoyable, you know, platformer. You know, it involves you going around, like, getting some crystals hidden in the level so you can access the 5th, you know, level, which I was close to beating this, but, you know, the final level, like, with the whole boss rush shit, just fuck that, honestly, just fuck that. Still, you know, a really, solid, and fun little Shinobi game, but, you know, I think that the two Shinobi games on the Game Gear, while really, really good, I don't feel that they deliver that experience where it's like, oh, it's a fun, you know, little, quirky, I don't know, Shinobi game, downsized game for the Game Gear, because, you know, there were Sonic games on the Game Gear, and for the most part I think they were pretty good. Like, I do think Sonic Triple Trouble did a very, very good job of providing an alternative, you know, to the superior games on the Genesis. This, I don't feel, delivers the same impact, but, you know, regardless, it's still a really, really good game on its own. You know, still fun. Asteroids for the Atari 2600. Now, I actually already own this, but mine needed a label upgrade. Because, you see, I don't have my other copy with me, but on the end label here, there was, like, I don't know, little white lines coming out, and it kind of ruined the text here and the other side, so, yeah, I needed another copy, and honestly, with Asteroids being, you know, dirt cheap, fucking might as well get it. Why not? You know, when I first talked about this a few months ago, you know, I said like, while Asteroids I don't think is as fun as, you know, other arcade games, and while yeah, that still holds true, I still really like Asteroids, but just the 2600 version, you know, the Asteroids only move like up and down. They don't move all over the place when you like shoot them, so it makes it pretty easy. But it's, you know, hey, it's an alternate version of Asteroids for that for you. Although the Atari 7800 version of Asteroids looks badass, but you know, hey, this is still, it's still a competent, you know, version of Asteroids. It's not like, you know, the 2600 port of Pac-Man or anything like that. Final Fantasy 7, or not 7, this is Final Fantasy 4 for the DS. This is interesting. For one, look at that, I don't even have a back for it. Here's the thing, I've owned this game for probably 2 years, but, will own loosely. My brother borrowed this from a friend a while back, and I kind of asked him, and I kind of remembered not too long ago that we had this, and I was going to ask him, oh, are you going to, like, you know, give this back to your friend? Just wondering. And he was telling me that that friend of his moved, like, now she's in New York, or she's definitely not in Canada anymore, so I guess now because she's gone, this game is ours. So yeah, the game itself, I don't really have anything much to say, because not into Final Fantasy really. But you know, I played a little bit of it anyway, just kind of fucked around for a bit, not knowing what to do, because, you know, hey, I need to play every game I own. I have to, you know, just I have to. Not sarcasm, I actually do. Although I could continue this video, I think I'll be right back, you know, why not?